Hey, Alistair. Thanks for being on the show.
Uh, Oh, a pleasure. I'm so excited. This this show's great, and I love that you're providing all this amazing insight and content. And I'm flattered and excited to talk with you today. It's gonna be fun.
You know, when when I was conceptualizing my podcast, you were the first one so that I approached, and you said anytime, just
Yeah.
anytime you're ready, just interview me. And that really pushed me to be like, oh crap, now I really need to do this because it feels like the important people that I need to be on the show are actually saying yes. So I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. And when those important people agree to be on your show, let me know, and I'll keep
Oh,
tuning in. And I'm
stop.
kidding. I'm kidding. No, no. Honestly, it absolutely a pleasure. And I think that more importantly, my answer was just because you know what you're talking about, and you do what you do, and you guys do it really well. And it's important that we can share experiences with people. So, because not everybody gets to see and hear and feel what we do. So the podcasts have become that vehicle to share information and experiences. So thank you for doing it. And let's have some fun today.
Oh my gosh, we're gonna
Yeah.
have so much fun. Yeah, so just so you know, the main reason why I actually wanted to invite you was not only because you have this one of the biggest uh, businesses in the wedding industry, which is your company, but also you're just wow, you're just a freaking master networker, man. It's so
Oh,
impressive.
thank you.
I remember
I
we
love people. Well, thank you.
yeah, I remember we were at this one party and you're like we were talking and I'm like I'm so nervous, I don't know who to talk to, and he said you just told me who do you want to talk to, and then you just started to talk to people and it was just so natural and it was so easy. I'm like I need to learn from this guy now.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's networking is tough. It's hard and it's scary, especially for people that are not um, familiar with a city or a landscape or an industry. And I think like so many creative people are really good at what they do well, and maybe they're not so good at sharing that experience outside of just letting their work speak for itself. So, I mean, look, networking organizations in our industry in the event space they're important for several reasons. Obviously, look, we can all talk about the experience of getting business cards and getting numbers and names and contacts and hey, why aren't you calling me for business, or call me for business, or let's do something together. But I think more importantly, I think networking organizations build community. And sometimes when it's tough and when it's hard and you don't have the answers, or there's a business that, is doing something that you don't agree with, or it's good to have a group of people that you can call frienders or friends. The community is really important. And so I think, and I know it sounds cliche and cheesy, but I don't care, because if it's cheesy to me, it means there's some truth to it. It's like, if it's funny, there's some truth to it. Without the event community, what happens is people really isolate themselves and they start to cannibalize their specific area of expertise. And what I mean by that is you're basically just undercutting yourself, and you're not allowing others to sort of learn from you, and you're not learning from others. So that's where networking for me starts. And then I think the continuation of that really is getting out there and just meeting people. And remember, when you go to these events, you know, um, whether it's an industry event for weddings or corporate events, or just photography or video or whatever it might be, like Tuesdays Together, it's everybody's in the same boat. Everybody's there going, okay, I don't know anybody, or I'm new here. So we're all human. At the end of the day, it's like a celebrity and a pro athlete is still just a human being. So but hey, I have to remind myself of that all the time. So.
That's amazing, man. You already got into the meat of things. Okay,
Well,
so
I mean, I'm passionate about it. I love
uh,
people. I'm passionate about meeting people. I mean, take it or leave it.
eh,
That's
you know,
you got to meet people to grow your business. So
yeah, and it shows. It shows that you're very genuine and you actually care about who you're talking to in that very moment, which is it's really inspirational for me. But before we get into the meat of what we're going to talk about, let's just so the listeners know more about you. Tell us something that the listeners would probably don't know about you. Something about you
Awesome.
probably wouldn't expect.
Okay, so unless you follow my wife on like Instagram or social media, because I hardly ever post anything personal. So unless you follow Emily, you probably wouldn't know that I'm a huge soccer fan. Like when I say soccer, I mean football, like European football. Um, like a gigantic fan, to the point of annoying other family members and friends because it's like it's absolutely the thing that I should have done with my life, but I wasn't good enough, and so now I'm in the music and entertainment industry. But I absolutely would, if someone called me and said, "Hey, we want you to come be the VP of a soccer team," I would probably quit everything and go do it. Like literally, that's how much I love it. So
Okay, so are
yeah.
you saying you played before or you want to
So
manage?
I So I played as a kid, and then I played, up through junior high, high school, did all that, played club, traveled, and then, didn't play because, they just people were better and I wasn't as good but I'm like an avid fan. Like I can tell you, I could probably I predicted who was going to win the last World Cup. The World Cup happened in June, and in April, I told all my friends, if you want to take a bet with me, like a little friendly bet, I'll give you the entire field if you let me pick the winner. And I won. I won like 10 bets from the World Cup. Not money. I just want to full disclosure, not money. I bet other fun things like experiences or like bottles of this or food, like take me to
Okay.
lunch, stuff like that. So I picked France to win the World Cup in April, and the World Cup happened that June. And I mean, I remember people were texting me like, dude, of course you knew they were going to win. So I'm like, Paul, I'm like a big follower of football, like big time. And so I was so excited, like when LAFC started, a friend of mine is running that club, like he's in charge of player and coaching personnel. And so I follow LAFC, and Nashville, where I live, is actually their professional soccer team is joining the MLS next season. So I'm
Nice.
so excited to like buy tickets and get, anyway, so that's kind of like my little side passion, if you will. That's my hobby away from getting burnt out in the music and events world.
That's crazy. I don't know if you
Yeah.
watched last night, but Stella and I were watching the football game between Thailand and the US, the women's football game, and they scored 12 to nothing. They broke the record. It was crazy.
Uh, yeah, it was, um, so my opinion on that is in the group stage, you have to score goals because goal differential is very important in order to seed into the playoff round. But Julie Foudy was on SportsCenter last night, and I
Yeah.
agree with her. She's like, I'm all for scoring goals, but after like 8 to nothing, let's not dance and celebrate on the sideline. So, I mean, they're very good. The women's U.S. soccer is very good, but what they need, and this is a whole nother podcast, what they need is they need equal pay because they're going to go out and they're going to
Yes.
destroy everyone, and they're going to probably win the World Cup again. And they've won in the past, the defending champs. So, but they're making less pay than the men, and there's no reason for that. So, and the way soccer can progress in the U.S. is they can start to really level the playing field and start to create a sort of a more universal experience for everybody. But that's a whole nother podcast. We won't go into that. But yes, I didn't watch the game, but I was watching it on my phone and watching highlights, and they're amazing. Actually, I have one of our wedding clients is on the women's national team. Am I allowed to say her name? Can I drop a name or should I not?
Sure. Yeah.
So Julie, she was Julie Johnson. Now she's Julie Ertz. So Zach and Julie Ertz, we did their wedding up at Bacara, and couldn't have been nicer. They were amazing to work with and super easy and super caring about the music and like just everyone they were super fun. And so to see like her succeeding, how fun is that to be able to follow her and cheer her on and go, we've got a connection and this is very cool. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's the one thing I love about the wedding industry. It doesn't matter if they're famous or not, but when you keep track of people and how they progress with their lives and how when they have babies or they do career moves, it's just like, oh my gosh, we have a connection. That's amazing.
So fun. It's like fun to root for. Yeah, it's fun to root for athletes that. Yeah, I mean, look, we're all just people, and yeah, and they get stressed out and they get overwhelmed just like everybody else. But at the end of the day, they score goals, like 13 of them against Thailand, I guess. So
Okay,
Anyway,
so now let's talk about your origin story. Like how
okay.
you get into the industry and what are you up to right now?
Thank you for that question. So, I'll try and keep it brief, but there's a connection between like my mom and my dad, and then music and how they all intersect. So, I'll start with I really started singing by fluke. Going to church, they put together like a children's choir. I grew up in San Pedro, California, and they put together a children's choir at First Presbyterian. And my sister went because her friends were going, and I didn't. I had no interest. And then she came home after like one of the choir rehearsals or practices, which was during the week, and she had a bunch of candy. And I'm like, wait a second, where'd the candy come from? And she said, oh, if you go to choir, they give you candy at the end. So I thought, okay, this is a good deal. I could get on board with this. So I went to a choir practice, and like, I couldn't be, I wasn't really interested in like the application of singing and music, but after, the practice, got the candy and thought, okay, I could sit through this practice to hang out with these kids in order to get the candy at the end. Cause I don't think my parents really gave us candy. So, I went back, and then probably my third or fourth choir practice, the choir teacher pulled my mom aside at the end, like in the parking lot, was like, I need you to know that your son is a singer. And my mom just kind of laughed. And the choir director said, no, your son is like the best singer in the church. And my mom just kind of laughed and thought, you're just trying to get more kids here. And then I don't know where the conversation, I was like 7 or 8 at the time, but where the conversation went from that. But then my church choir ended up doing a musical. They did Jonah and the Whale, and I got the part of Jonah just because I guess I outsang the other 8-year-olds or 9-year-olds or whatever. And that was kind of the start of it, man. I got a taste of that lead role life, and it was like, okay, this is kind of cool. And it just kind of went from there, like singing in church, going to junior high. So fast forward, I went to USC. I went to Hamilton Music Academy in LA, which is a performing arts magnet. Got a scholarship to sing at USC. Went to USC for 4 years, did that, graduated, and then went into musical theater because that's where I could get a job at 22 as a guy who could sing in the US, and it was steady-ish. And then I was like an original cast member of a show called Rock of Ages, 80s rock musical, went to Broadway eventually, and they made a movie. I left the show before it went to off-Broadway in New York. They actually recast and didn't take pretty much, I think they took 1 or 2 people from the LA original cast. And then I started singing with a band called the Spasmatics, which was based in LA, but it franchised itself all over the country. So I was kind of filling in as the lead singer where they needed it for like the double and triple bookings. And that's when I really got a taste of the event and wedding industry as an adult and a professional. And I really enjoyed the experience of singing with that band, but I always thought to myself, wow, there's a customer service element to this that I really want to fix. And so I went to the owners of that company with an offer, which was, hey, I want to come in and I want first right of refusal on any verticals I create for myself within your company. And they were like, well, you can create verticals, but we don't give anybody first right of anything. And so I said, okay. And so amicably, I just started my own company, started my own 80s band called the Young Guns, started doing bars and restaurants and just clubs and building it up. And now I've got offices in 3 cities, LA, Houston, and now Nashville. And I've got 25 bands in California that I've put together, developed, and booked. And I've got 3 here in Nashville that I'm in the process of, putting into the marketplace slowly but surely. And then Houston is just sort of like a satellite hub where I have clientele that I kind of act as a resource for entertainment for them. And really, I think why I love the industry so much is when I was a kid, this goes back to my parents. My mom had a catering company, like a really small catering company out of an Australian restaurant called the Wallaby Darns in San Pedro. And so my weekends were full of chafing dishes and loading the car with catering equipment and kind of learning about customer service and grinning and bearing it and really getting your hands dirty and getting kind of like, it was amazing. I kind of got this like quick lesson on this is the events industry and this is what's going on. And I've always had a sort of a respect for that. And I think if you can look around the landscape of weddings and events and you can look at the people you're working with or working alongside, maybe not in the same company, but fellow vendors, and you understand what they're going through, and you can really, you feel their pain, and you feel their agony of, being on their feet for 12 hours, then you start to really understand, like, this is an industry where people really work their tails off. And so, I just, I have a lot of respect for people in this business that do it the right way and do it the kind way. It's not always easy to be kind, but it's a when we go to these marketing events or these networking events, it's a celebration of work on site, but it's also a celebration of like making it through the wedding season and making it through another year and still being in business when everything around us is changing, and we're sort of like, we're subject to trends and people's attitudes towards things. And yeah, and so I got, as a kid, I got a really good taste of what the event space was like. And then as a professional adult going in, I already knew I want to set up a company. And this goes back to that whole, like, I thought there was a customer service way of doing things. I really wanted to set up a company where the band was important and the music was stellar, but the client was the most important thing. It's about, the mentality is, it's about you, not about us. We're here for you. And so every gig we do and every event we do, I really, really, really try and impress upon my people this infectious attitude of give first, ask second. So
That's crazy. I never grew up. I never grew up in the wedding industry, but my mom, she always likes to have parties. So we still
there you
have
go.
shaping dishes.
Yeah.
But
I mean, so yeah, so someone in every family is a party planner somewhere.
yeah.
So
Just
yeah.
so you've grown this company from your humble beginnings to
One
one
band.
band. Wow.
One band of six people on a like a Saturday night in April, I think 2000, I think it's 2009 is what we figured out at a bar in San Pedro. And I mean, I didn't see the writing on the wall then, but fast forward 3 years from there, I was like, yeah, this is happening. And I'm starting to build other bands and bring other people in. But honestly, it came out of people just starting to trust me and go, hey, we need a band for this, or we need an upright bass and jazz trio for the, so it just sort of became like, this, the music, and what we need. You speak our language as far as event coordinators. Can you translate and bring us something that's going to be really special? And that's kind of how it happened. I mean, I just had to like call on friends and say, yo, I'm putting you in this band, and you're going to make money, and it's going to be great. And you can tell people I'm a full-time musician.
So are you allowed to say how many events do you do in an average in a year?
Yeah, for sure. So that's a cool question, because it actually fluctuates. This year I'll probably do less events, but my revenue will be more. And I think that's the nature of my business has grown, and the cost of doing business, goods and services, and the categories that I've sort of gotten into have gotten a little more expensive. And so I'm saying yes to proposals, and yes, I'll give you a quote. Sorry, there's a train behind me. So
I can't hear it.
Okay, good. Okay.
Yeah.
So my costs have gone up, which means not everyone can afford it. But so my costs have gone up, my revenue has gone up, my number of events have gone down. I want to say on average, Paul, like the last year and the year before that, I probably did about 200 events.
Whew. Oh man.
Yeah. Obviously not me. I mean, I have a hand in every single thing that goes in and out. For sure, I have creative input, but sometimes it's simple. It's someone that calls and says, hey, we want an a cappella group for a red carpet movie premiere. And there'll be some guidance from me, but pretty much it's like, here's what it is. And I'll just have a conversation with the talent about behavior and approach and communication. And then there are other times when I'm literally like writing an opening medley for a corporate event that wants a country music theme and we're putting a celebrity in. So it just depends. But I'd say my sweet spot has become bands for weddings because I just love it. And I think we do it well. So especially those customized set lists.
Can I just say that whenever wedding vendors find out that there's going to be a band in the wedding, we
Yeah.
always have this sigh that we say. We're like, oh man, I guess we're not gonna eat tonight. That's always the
Yeah.
reputation of the bands, right? But with your bands, every time we work with them, they always make sure that there's food for everyone, and that's what
100%.
I don't know if I doubt that you tell them that I'm gonna be there, but I don't think they know who we are. But your band is just they make sure that there's more food for enough for everyone.
Thank you. Well, wow, that makes me feel really happy. And that kind of feedback I think is really valuable. Plus, positive or negative. So we talk a lot about communication with my band leaders, making sure that they, make that communication when they arrive, understanding the timeline, going over it with the planners as well as the client. We do we do a lot of follow-up calls. Hey, how are things? How was the food? Did everybody eat? My my rule is never be the person that takes the last piece of food. And so typically my band leaders, like, well, I'll have a music director with every band and I'll have a band leader, and their job is very much like client facing, working with the photographer, videographer team and planner to make sure that all that communication is done very clear and that we're staying on task. But that person's job is also to make sure that, like, hey, it's a little bit of a paid babysitter, if you will. And you know what?
It works.
Sometimes situations it works, but sometimes situations happen where we run out of food or there's a situation. And I've told, like, all my band leaders know, if there's a food situation, you text me or you call me, or honestly, just buy food and we'll circle back. And because the last thing, and I think that's advice for any vendors. Like, if there's an issue with like a hotel room, or there's an issue with transportation, like an Uber or a Lyft, or there's an issue with food, like, chances are, unless you're in the middle of nowhere, there's probably an option. And let me tell you, spend the money is a better option. Just put it on someone's card or borrow a few bucks from someone if you don't have the money at that time. Spend the money is always a better option than I'm going to freak out and make a fool out of myself. And so that's the culture that I've really, really built with all these bands and all these acts is, let's make a decision in a time of stress that's going to benefit everyone and not just you.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
it's hard, man. It's hard. I mean, I have my moments when I'm like, we're not going to do that, but you can't just turn around to a planner and say, yeah, you're crazy, we're not going to do that. What you do is you get through the gig, you make sure the gig is, and the event goes off and is a hit, and then you circle back. But if you communicate ahead of time and you have these conversations ahead of time before the event, I'm not talking about at the event, like 5 minutes before people arrive. I'm talking about ahead of time. Every single planner I work with and every single client we work with, I personally, as the owner of my company, do at least a call with every single client and planner to go through the timeline and the expectations, making sure, first dance, is this recorded or is this live? We'd love to do it live, but if you want it recorded, because that's the recording you want. And the only way I've learned how to do that, Paul, is by messing up. And so I've made mistakes. I've had to give money back. I've had to write hand letters to people that say, this was amazing, and I'm sorry that this wasn't. How can I fix it? I mean, the only way you get better is fall forward. You fall flat on your face and you fall forward. And so I suggest everybody be doing that. Like, make sure you have those calls beforehand, not the day of, like a week or a few days in advance, just to make sure, because you're just managing expectations, right? I mean, at the event, people are there to just party. So at that point, it's like, just make sure their expectations are met. It's not that hard.
Yeah. So
Anyway.
that's the thing. Everything that you do when it comes to this business is networking. Just like what I told you, your band, they made sure we ate also. And that's a form of networking because everyone's going to remember your company. When you communicate with the wedding planners, that's another form of networking because that's showing them how professional you are, right?
100%. We have a shared document with our
Oh, that's
clients, like
right.
for song, because we customize all our set lists. Meaning, look, there are some clients that when they book a VIP's entertainment band, they want the band like if they book the Young Guns, they're like, we want an 80s party. We've seen this band wherever, or we know of this band. Just make it amazing. We don't care. This is what the party is. Go. And then there are other clients that are like, you look, we love Uptown Live, or we love red carpet. We just want to have some say in the music, and we love, like, I love that. I mean, can you imagine doing 200 events a year of the same songs at every event? I mean, it's like
Yeah.
at some point, I mean, it'd be like a photo booth company and the same people are at every event. At some point, you
Yeah.
just need, like, it kind of gets a little, so we challenge our clients. I mean, I just, before this was on a call with a planner, we're doing a wedding up in Napa at the end of June. And she's like, I'm really sorry. They had 150 requests. I'm like, they didn't have 150 requests. They had 150 songs they love. The band's not gonna get to all of them. And I'm like, and furthermore, don't apologize, because I'm gonna trim the fat. I'm gonna make this great. And the band leader and the MD are gonna make sure that it suits the crowd and it suits the band and it keeps the party going. So we set up a shared drive, Google Drive folder or document, so that our clients can get on there and they can edit it 24 hours a day. The planners are seeing those edits. So if they have input, the band can all see it. Our MD can edit. Our leader can edit. And then oftentimes, if people want it, we allow other vendors in there to take a look at it too, because it helps to sort of create that like consistent like design or aesthetic or
Yeah.
just a vibe, So, yeah.
That's what I love about you. You never stop at the problem. You always offer help. Like, how
Thank
are we
you.
gonna?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a problem. How are we gonna solve it? That maybe we can do this. So, which leads to my question, because just like what I told you earlier, everything you do is a form of networking, and I was wondering, with your business, how much did networking contribute to the success of your business? Because it's not all networking, right? It's advertising and
No.
but how much has
Yeah.
networking helped?
As far as growing the business from one band or one wedding band, it's been the most important thing. Meeting people, meeting planners, meeting venues, meeting other vendors. I mean, starting out, the Young Guns, when the Young Guns became more of an event band than it was sort of like a ticketed like party bar club band, I was getting most of the referrals from photographers who had said, oh my gosh, if you want an 80s band, we worked with this band last weekend and they were so fun. They were the opposite of a wedding band. So starting out okay, so why don't I just do, why don't I do this? Why don't I talk about a couple of the organizations that I joined and that the business joined, and I'll just kind of tell you that experience. So I joined a thing called BNI in Manhattan Beach when I was living there. And that was really, really helpful because I met other like-minded business owners or people that were entrepreneurs or really kind of blazing a trail for their sales. And so, you get into a room with people that are like, I need to boost my sales. One great way to do that is reciprocate the referrals. So BNI was great out of the gate. And I really felt like I found a village of people who understood what I was going through as far as like starting a business. And then
BNI.
Yeah.
So BNI means Business Networking International.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just so the listeners know.
Okay, so I'll say the name of the organization and then you talk about it a little bit, because you're gonna be better at this than I am, because some of these I may just like make up words.
No,
so, and then
I'm googling it.
Oh,
So
good. Okay, perfect.
Business. Oh, actually,
Okay.
It's Business Network International.
It's Business Network International. And the idea of that is like givers gain. So give people referrals and it'll come back in full. Then I joined ABC, Association of Bridal Consultants, and they've got, I got that one right, I think. And they have organizations, I think I know they're national. They may be international at this point. And that was great because you're meeting, other bridal professionals and people that want to build not only a book of business, but build that community of people that they can turn to for inspiration. And so from that, I really got to know a lot of venues and other vendors in the event, specifically the wedding industry. And then WIPA, help me with this one, Industry Professionals Association, Wedding Industry, or Wedding, I think they changed their name to Wedding International Professionals Association. And then there's WIPA, and that's another great wedding industry association, as the name says, that's very planner heavy and very design heavy. And, they do like a thing called the Design Challenge, which is really sort of like a community event of vendors, which I love, getting invited to that and going to those events. So, and yeah, I mean, you're going to meet other people in your same category. Those are opportunities to say, you know what, this is not about competition. It's about collaboration, or this is about, hey, I'm having an issue with this hard drive. Can you help me? Or how are you handling, noise volume on stage? And just talking to people about, guitar players, or, hey, I'm really short on trumpet players. Do you have anyone? I'm not going to steal them from you, but do you have anyone that you really recommend that knows how to behave and play really, really good R&B? And then honestly, the biggest uptick I saw was from the We Heroes, the Wedding and Event Heroes, which is what we met through. I got to tell you, like, it's a whole nother level. I mean, that group is, because it's exclusive and because it's, it's so pointed to what its goals are and its motivations are, which is giving back to planners and superstar planners and venues that we all love and know and respect. I've really been able to hone in on making strong relationships. And I will tell you, like, I don't do business with everyone that's on our list at the We Heroes, and I don't get business and I don't get inquiries from a lot of those planners, but the ones that I do business with, I consider almost like they're basically like family. I mean, I'm calling to see how they're doing if, I know they had a bad weekend, or I'm not like the baked goods kind of guy. There are other people that do that better than me, but I feel like I'm really good at kind of like asking some questions and saying like, hey, we've been working together now for this long. What's one thing we need to work on, or what's one thing I can do to make your job easier? And so I've really focused on like a planner and building that relationship, as opposed to like, I'm just going to get to know everybody. I don't believe in that. I think, look, you can go out and network and market and be kind to everyone, and you should be kind to everyone. But I really focus on the planners and the venues that I know care about my work and respect the work we do, and have acknowledged it and said like, hey, either we want to put you on our preferred vendor list, or, hey, we really appreciated that your team stepped up when there was no parking and parked, 10 blocks away. That was really cool. I've really tried to work on those relationships. So, I would say I have, around the country, I have about 20 planners that I'm super close with, that I could like I could literally like loop them into this call or this interview right now. And we could talk about their kids, or we could talk about how their college team got beat in the College World Series, like that. I have that kind of relationship with them. It's not just about business anymore. It's about life.
That's a good segue, because I listed down, I was scouring the internet and I listed down the benefits of networking. And actually the first one is friendship. Like when you network, it develops into more than just work. It develops into like an actual friendship, just like what you said. And I feel like that's the strongest friendships start from from networking.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, I probably wouldn't be in business if it wasn't for Made by Meg, to be honest with you. She is like a dear friend of mine. It has turned me on to some amazing, amazing opportunities, and vice versa. I mean, so I think about photographers, and I think about who I want to work with all the time. And I mean, so back when I was like auditioning for theater and doing musical theater, I had a voice teacher. So I'll tell you this quick story. In college, I desperately wanted to be in the show Rent, because that was like the cool show to be in. It was like 98, 98, 99, 2000. And I was on the short list out of LA to go into the show as Mark or Roger. Kind of, I don't know if people are familiar with the show, they'll get that. So through that audition process, they start to basically like train you for the show and get your voice ready for the show. So I had a vocal coach who was a former member of the cast. And finally, he just broke it down to me. Oh, by the way, I never got the role. I never got cast in Rent. But through the audition process, I remember one day he just flat out said to me, he's like, you know what, Alistair, it doesn't really come down to talent and looks. You got to remember that if you get this show, you're going to be spending 8 shows a week with these people. They want to make sure that they can be cool with you and that they can hang with you and that they can get on a bus with you and travel with you. And you're going to have to do 6 a.m. interviews and you need to show up and not be hungover. And you got to be a reliable person. So really it comes down to like, can these people be friends with you? And I've always remembered that, like in every business meeting I go into, listening to people and taking away from it what's important for them. How can I help them? And not like, how can I help you so that I can get business out of it? But like, what are people really all about? And I got to tell you, I go into meetings with people and even clients where it all, like the financials all make perfect sense and it all sounds great. But culturally, I'm like, this is not going to happen. This is just not a good fit, whether we're working together or I'm working for you. Thanks, but I don't think we're ever going to make this make sense. So I think you're right, Paul. I think it's about friendship. And in many ways, like when we go on these journeys with people, when we're helping them develop their weddings in this event, they turn to us with a lot of advice, a lot of questions, a lot of concern, and our job is to mitigate some of those fears and be that guide. We're not their hero. They're the hero. I always think of it like they're the hero, they're the star, we're the backup. Our job is to be there and support them, with a hug and a smile, with a hug and a smile.
We're anyway. Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Totally. Okay,
yeah.
So I can use Star Wars references? Yeah. We are. We're Obi-Wan or Yoda, right?
We're Obi-Wan or Yoda, exactly. So you touched up on advice. Because I remember earlier you were saying like networking is important because you get, not only you get referrals, but you also could get advice from other people. And I feel like that's what really helped us move forward with our business. Just like when, joining We Heroes, it was just phenomenal. Like the amount of the risk that we took, and everything's just so nerve-wracking whenever we hear advice from you guys, because it's always like a big, huge advice that we can't just put on a table. We just need to make sure that we understand what you say, and it really helped us. So I feel like having that community, it really helps with people like trying to get through the industry.
Yeah. Everybody in the event industry, whether you're a business owner or you work for someone, whether you're mid-level or you're management or you're just boots on the ground, you can't take that stress home. You've got to have a group. You've got to have a village outside of love and work that is like your community of people that you can vent to, whether it's what's called like a paid friend, whether it's a therapist or a group of people. Like, you've got to have that group, that crew of people. It could be one person that you meet with on a regular basis, but the We Heroes is really special because we go there for advice. We go there to vent. We go there to elevate and educate and inspire. And you gotta have that in this business, because there are a lot of people doing things really poorly, but then there are a whole group of people that are doing it really well. And it's good to know the difference. I don't really consider anybody a competitor in the space for me. And we can go into that if you want, because I come from a very creative first standpoint. So I'm never scared about competition, but there are definitely people like I've watched do certain things and gone, okay, that's a cool choice, but that's not the way I would do it. And because of the long-term effects or the short-term experience. But yeah, man, we've got to have a community that we can turn to.
Yeah. I love that you said that not everyone is no one's competition, because when
I have no,
we
I don't, yeah,
when we started out, we I was just so competitive. Like anyone who goes up against us is just gonna we're just gonna ruin their business. But then when we started like networking and talking to people, and you see that they're just like what you said, they're people too. They're just people. There's regular people who are trying to get through life and make a living. And I think now being in the industry for a long time for the both of us, you our role is to help other people start their business right, just so they don't end up trying to screw anyone else over. I feel like that's our responsibility as. Let me know what you think too. I feel like that's our responsibility as the
totally.
OGs, not OGs, but like being in the industry a little
Y-
longer.
Yeah, I mean, look, there are businesses, there are companies that have been around a lot longer than mine, and they're really good at what they do. Um, but I'm in a very cool place where what I can create is can be unique, and it can be art. And so I've taken the approach that, like, I look at it like this, okay? So in the music business, you have Rascal Flats, for example. I'm in Nashville, so I'm going to talk about Rascal Flats. You have a country group, right? You also have Lady Antebellum, a country group. You also have Little Big Town, and you have Alabama, the band that did it before them. So it's like, do they all consider each other competition? No. They sing in the same genres. They use mostly the same instrumentation. They're on the same radio stations. They're playing the same venues. They're probably working with competitive or the same record labels. But do they look at themselves as competition? No. And why? Because they don't care. They're creating, and they're focused on their art. And somewhere along the way in the event and the wedding industry, it's gotten really muddy and ugly, where people are going, well, I can do it better than them. And what people need to be saying is, well, I can do it different. And the way, and if everyone would just, and it's easier said than done. Look, and it all comes from a place of fear. We all have fears about not getting enough work, not making enough money, not getting the clients, not showing up on social media the way we want, or getting tagged or buzzed or pop fizz, whatever. But as a wedding or event owner or professional entrepreneur, whatever you are, it's easy to just copy. It's hard, but more rewarding to create and come up with something fresh. And so, like, when someone tells me, no, you can't do that, what I hear is, okay, the law is telling me no, and I'll respect the law always. Like, if I just can't do something because it's illegal or dangerous, fine. But if someone's coming to me and saying, no, I don't think that's going to happen, or no, you can't do that from a creative standpoint, what I hear is a 7-year-old kid going, no, I can do that different, and I can do it better. And like, that to me is what's going to keep me relevant, is not just booking bands, but booking bands that make people really smile and make people do something different with their experience and their party. So yeah. And on the competitor front, it's it's easy when you're, okay, for example, when someone's reaching out and they want a quote, and I listened to your earlier podcast about like discounts, and someone said, no, we don't discount because that's not fair to our clients. And I love that
I
response.
love that.
So
It was so good.
yeah, I thought that was really intelligent. And I look, we all deal with it, no matter where your price point is, whether you charge $500 or $5,000 or $50,000 or $100,000. We all deal with people wanting a deal. And the way I approach it is this: instead of it being a discount of money, maybe it's a discount of creativity or application. So when someone comes to me and they're like, yo, we really want this, but we need a deal, I say, well, what is your expectation out of the gate from the experience of entertainment? Because maybe they only need 30 minutes, or maybe they only need, or maybe they don't need sound and lights, or maybe it's something where they're having multiple days. So I sort of look at, like, how can we create a transaction that will withstand you saying, this is my price, and me saying, this is all we can do, and then that's the end of the conversation. So there are ways to get around financial discounts. Now, the other thing is, when people are coming to me and they're saying, we're looking at you and we're looking at 5 other bands, I'm very forthright with people. I will email them, if it comes in an email or if it's a written form or whatever. If they say we're looking at you and we're looking at A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and they start naming names, I'm really clear and I'll say, great. What they do well is this. What we do well is this. Where we're priced. So I make it very clear to people, this is what we cost and this is why. And I'll never, ever, ever say to someone, well, you shouldn't hire that band because they can't do this or they can't do this because all we're doing is we're starting to belittle the the industry, and we're starting to belittle ourselves. So my advice on that front is if someone's putting you up against someone else or another vendor, don't spend your time putting them down. Spend that time talking about yourself and what you can do for that client. Ask, if someone says to me, hey, so we're thinking about you and we're thinking about them, but they cost this. Why are you more? Or we're thinking about them and we're thinking about you. Why should we hire you? Answer it with a question. Say, well, what's important to you on this experience? Or why are you going with the band? Start to find out the reason and take them on that journey, because all they're doing is they're trying to get a discount or they're trying to figure out if you're going to throw mudda on the other person. And I'm telling you, it's just a waste of time, because what's going to end up in the habit, even if they go with you, then you're the guy that talked bad about that other company.
It's terrible.
You know what I'm saying? Or even worse, what if they don't go with you? Then you're the guy that talked bad about that other company. And now you don't have the gig. So I really, really focus on, and I tell all my people at networking events, you can ask the question to planners, hey, who do you work with in the entertainment space? And if they tell you, hey, I'm exclusive to this person, ask why, ask questions. That's the easiest way to get around all this like competitive, dirty business that's going on right now where people are undercutting. So anyway, enough about that.
You know what's funny? Whenever I was just at a networking event a few days ago, and the intro of the person that I met for the first time, she's like, "Oh, so how much do you charge?" I'm like, "Huh? What?" But it's I told her it's okay. But one more point, I guess one of the other benefits, because you were talking about being confident, is it really helped me, like networking wise. It really helped me become a little bit more confident about not only about how I speak and how I do have a conversation, but also about like humble bragging about our company, because you kind of have to sell the company also when they ask about it, or something like that.
Yeah.
Just like being a little bit more confident, like, hey, we're here, this is what we've done, and this is why you should trust us as another wedding vendor.
Okay, so I love, man, I love this. I feel like we could do a TED talk on all this stuff.
We are.
Oh, no, I love this. You got me so pumped up. And this is right about the time in an interview when things get rolling, right? Like we're warmed up. Now we're lifting the heavy weights, right? So, all right. So about pricing, when people say to me like, hey, how much do you charge? I love that question, because to me, it's like, oh, we're cutting through, like, okay, you're a buyer or you're someone that thinks about the financials. So like if a planner is saying, hey, just curious, where are you in the landscape of cost? Then boom, this planner clearly cares about budgets and they slot accordingly. Or maybe they work with a clientele that's really careful about budgets. So then you're starting to categorize where that person fits. Now, these are generalizations, of course. Most planners that I work with on the luxury level, where we're doing like Napa, Hawaii, Cabo, anywhere we're doing like working with destination, I probably never, maybe twice a year with those planners, have to send an actual proposal. It's typically, this is the budget, make it work. So, I mean, it's a pretty nice relationship. However, sometimes I have to push back and say, that budget's great. What are the expectations? If they want this, I need to charge you this. And, and then you have that dance. But okay, so that's on the pricing front. Is people just need to get out of the way of feeling weird about it, because having a wedding is building a house. And it's like, you may have money left over for the nice towel rack, or you may have to spend that on wood flooring, or you may have to spend that on so-and-so and so-and-so. And so I just remind planners, like, look, you're the general contractor here. You tell me, like, do they want the laminate floors, or are we going like, the bleached black cherry oak, like, let the big dog eat floors here? Like, you tell me. I mean, and it's all where it fits into that transaction, right? Like, it's all a budget. It's just a wedding is a spreadsheet for a planner, and they're just putting it all together. And then they've got to go design the thing. They're a home builder. That's kind of how I look at that. Okay. And then the other thing you mentioned was, after pricing, was, when people say, when you meet people and you feel bad about talking about yourself, what I use in that regard is, let me send you some videos. Let me send you some stuff, because everybody's buying with their eyes these days, right? You guys know that. I mean, so I love the idea of, hey, instead of, can I have your card, or, hey, can you give me your number, or what's your email, or how do I stay in contact with you? I would love to send you some stuff. Boom. I'm gifting them an opportunity to see what it is we do, and hear what it is we do. And maybe they look at that like, okay, this guy's just going to hammer me with videos, but I'm not. I send very clean, like, links, and very, I tie everything back so that if they want to go down the VIP's entertainment road, they can. But I'm always like, hey, when people ask, like, about cost and pricing and money and things like that, I'm like, I want you to see what it is we're talking about. And if they're like, no, I'm really familiar, I've been to a show, or I've seen you I've seen one of your bands play at a festival, then I can say, great. So the level that we're working at. Let's talk about how we can make this work, and what we think it's worth financially for this experience. Yeah.
So, okay. Now I wanted to ask you what. So because we were talking about, like, confidence, and I'm not really confident. What
Yeah,
advice
you are.
do you give to only when I wear.
And I like the way you dress.
Oh, thanks. I'm only confident
So,
when I wear deodorant. Other than that, I'm okay. So
yeah.
okay,
Sounds like something my wife would say.
I want to ask you, because we have a lot of listeners who are just starting out with their business,
Yeah.
and with that, it includes not knowing anyone at a networking event. And whenever I go to a networking event, I see someone who's new. I always try to. My goal is to introduce them to someone else. I remember you told us about that. Like, your goal, or we were at Dapper
Yeah.
Diplomat, right? He said, when you network, your job is to introduce this person to another person. So that's what I usually do. But so what's your advice to people who just started to walk into a networking event, not knowing anyone? Like,
Okay.
how are you gonna handle that?
Okay. So, there are three aspects to this networking that I use. The first is pregame. Okay. So before you go to the event, your job, if you know no one, is to do some research and find out one of these things. Is there going to be someone there that you already know? Two, if there's not going to be someone there that you already know, find out someone that's going to be there, and do a little bit of, like, stalk them, like do some Facebook or some Instagram or some Twitter or whatever platform you use, and direct message them and just say, hey, I'm coming to this event. I don't know anyone. Would you do me the solid of just saying hello and making sure that I meet 3 people? Or would you do me the solid of making sure that I meet the right people? This is my category. I'd love to find a group of people at this event that can just tell me more about the group, right? So, and then the third is, sometimes these events are like on an Eventbrite, and you can actually see the list of people that are going to be there, and you can just message platforms through that invite, right? Okay, so that's the pregame. You gotta pregame. When I went to Engage for the first time, I pregamed like crazy, so that I knew who I wanted to meet, who was speaking, what they were talking about, just because it was like very overwhelming for me. It was like the juggernaut of the industry at this thing. So that's the second. Then 2, when you're there, don't look at networking like I've got to meet people and they've got to meet me, or I've got to introduce people and they've got to introduce me. Look at networking like I've got to start conversations for people. So, hey, grab someone and say, hey, I wanted to introduce you to this person because I thought it'd be cool if you talked about this. It's a lot easier, in my opinion, to just make up a conversation about food or the weather or the venue or the parking. Talk about anything. But the key to that is make sure you're asking a question when you start networking. Hey, is this your first time at this event? Or, hey, did you have trouble with Waze or Google getting here? Or, hey, I've been to Terranea before, but the last time I was here, it was super rainy. I had no idea there was all this green space. Have you ever been to Terranea? Just if you approach things with a question, then it's a lot easier to kind of start a conversation. So on site, think about it as I'm going to get people to start conversations as opposed to I've got to meet people. And then the follow-up, the key, and this is so big in Nashville and in Texas and in California, it's not done as well. And the people say like the fortune is in the follow-up. The follow-up is so important. So if you get someone's card, make sure that you're at least like following up on social media. I use Instagram direct message. I love it because if I'm on Instagram, boom, I can just message them and I'll say like, hey, it was great meeting you. Here's my number. I don't know if you use DM. If you don't, text me. If you don't do that, let me know another way to stay in touch. Trust me, if people want to talk to you, they're going to get a hold of you. So, but the follow-up is key. And, get business cards if you can. And I say like, I do this whole one planner a month thing, or I call it a planner a month. I follow up and sort of really try and make a point to meet with, or at least have a conversation with one planner, new or already established, a month in my business. So if you're a planner starting out, what about one venue a month? And I'm not saying like call them every day for 30 days in a row. Spread it out, but just really focus your efforts on like set like a goal for yourself and like a year goal of, okay, over the next 12 months, I'm going to visit, contact, and have a conversation with one venue a month about how I can do things to start working there on a more regular basis. So does that answer your question about how to network?
You've answered so many questions. Just so the listeners who don't see it, I just held up like an entire notebook of notes because I've been taking so much notes and it's crazy. Yeah, that's right. So what I do whenever I try to introduce myself to someone new, I guess it's my personality too. Instead of like trying to ask them a question, I always like when they're not doing anything, I approach them and I'm just going to say, okay, I need to introduce myself to you because you're always on my recommended friend list on Facebook and I always see your face and I don't want to add you as a friend until I've met you. So
that's so sweet. That's
usually what I do.
That's so sweet.
Yeah.
And it's hard for people. Like, look, if you're an introvert or you're someone who's not really outgoing or not comfortable going up and just talking to strangers, it's hard. I get it. It's hard. Like, I remember my first day of high school, I knew one kid and I was like, this like geeky kid, 14, 15 years old, like that knew no one. And I get it. Like, it's hard to see these cliques at events and go, wow, how am I ever going to get to know those people? Or, oh, they'll never work with me, or they don't even know what I do. And I just think, just what, set yourself up for the success by doing the pregame. So set yourself up with, hey, I'm going to be at this event. Do you want to grab a drink or coffee beforehand to kind of ease myself into meeting 50 strangers? The other thing I did want to talk about with the whole like networking thing and the one planner a month thing, I just lost my train. I'll come back to me on that because I lost my thought. Because you asked me about networking and then I talked about pre-gaming and following up and then the one planner a month. I don't know. Anyway, I'll think of it. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry. I probably have ADD, and it went misdiagnosed my whole life. So sorry.
Me too. That's why I always take notes because I'm going to get lost when, yeah.
I know what it is now. I know what it is.
Okay.
The advice I wanted to give for people starting out. And this is something I did by accident. You got to mix it up. So if you're going to come into this industry and you're going to come in correct and you're going to come in and you're going to stay, do something that no one else is doing. And I don't mean like start a business. I'm saying within that category, whether it's design or planning or flowers, or balloons or video or but whatever it is, calligraphy. And forgive me for, generalizing, but do something new and fresh and risky. Like take a risk so that people like think about somebody in the wedding industry did the drone thing first. Someone did that first. And whoever did that probably did really well for a couple of years and then probably went, oh, this is saturated. I got to go do something else creative. So like what hasn't been done, what needs to be done? Like look at technology, look at creativity and do something different. Like there's nothing better than working with a planner who's like, hey, I've never thought of that before. Thank you. That is so cool. Let's go for it.
Okay.
I mean,
are you saying that when you say do something different, are you saying that the new person should sponsor something at a networking event, like a cupcake table or a photo booth or something like that? Is that what you're saying?
yeah,
Okay.
if you've got a good idea, if you've got a really cool idea, get involved with a networking event where you can be a vendor sponsor, which may mean you have to do it for free. Maybe there'll be some money if you're doing like food and drinks, if there's like costs of goods involved, or like rentals if there's deliveries. But let's say, for example, if you're some sort of designer and you want to get your work seen by the industry in LA or in Orange County, Southern California. And let's say that you can't get any clients, your website's not working, you're just not getting the push you need at the cost of doing business that you're at, and you're really struggling. Sponsoring an event will give you visibility, it'll get you on social media, and it'll get you photos and hopefully videos and assets that you can take with you. You got to leverage your input with your output, right? So if you're providing content, how are you leveraging that? If you're doing it for free, how are you leveraging that with assets? And assets are something you can take away that may not be financial. So yeah, I mean, if you're let's say you're a designer and you are from, I'm just going to throw this out there. Let's say you're a designer and you were born and raised in Eastern Europe, and you grew up in a family that was very strict and very stringent, and there were certain things you could not do. And you brought that and you went and got educated somewhere. Maybe now you live in Southern California and you want to do something that's inspired by that. Like, find a way in whatever you're doing. If you want to break into this industry and make a statement, find a way in whatever you're doing to tell your story and what you're passionate about. Like, Paul, oh my God, if somebody called me and said, we're doing a soccer themed event, I mean,
you're going to flip out for sure.
Yeah. We want to do a whole installation that's a soccer field, and the band, the back wall is a goal with a bunch of fans, and it's like an LED wall that's like interactive of stadiums around Europe. I would be like, well, cool. So the band is wearing soccer uniforms, and the goalie is the drummer, and he's going to be in gloves, and the referee is going to be the lead singer, and that's what I'm talking about. Like, you just gotta throw stupid ideas at the wall, and somebody somewhere is going to go, I want to do that.
Okay. I love that. So I've always believed, I forgot who said this quote, but he said, if you're lost in your creative process, look what everyone is doing and go the other direction. So
100%.
I've always had that in my mind. And
okay. I mean, look at technology wouldn't exist without that. I mean, look at what people have done with like apps and the internet. I mean, it's like, yeah. So anyway,
there's always something different that everyone can offer, and it's just a matter of trying to find out how and where to look, right?
Yeah.
So my last question for you, and this is usually like a big deal for everyone, is when do you do when do you work for free? Like, which situations? Because we get approached a lot, like, oh, you want to do a style shoot, or we have a venue opening, or this networking event needs video. Do you want to do it for free? And always for free. And we always ask ourselves, what's in it for us? Because I can't just do it for free. So my question for you is, at least your advice to people is, when should you do something for free? Is that a hard question?
No, it's not actually. I had this conversation with Stella. She called me about sponsoring something, and I gave her my opinion. So I never do anything for free, um, because if I'm going to sponsor an event, the agreement is that I get the photos and I get video. Um, Obviously, exposure is one thing. You can take that for what it's worth. If you're going to sponsor an event, that event is an event where you need to be there to make sure that people know it's your work and they meet you and they understand how passionate you are about it. And I believe you have, and I'm giving everybody who's listening, I'm giving you professional and creative license. If you're sponsoring an event, I'm giving you license. You don't necessarily walk up to the organizers of the event and say, great, I did something for you for free, now give me work. But I'm giving you professional and creative license, if you're sponsoring something in an event, to walk up to people and say, I did this. How do you think this would fit into one of your events? Or do you have any clients that you would like to share this with? You have my permission. And if anyone has a problem with that, have them call me and I'll meet them and we can talk about soccer.
Oh my gosh.
No. I mean,
Perfect.
look. I do donate. I do donate bands for experiences, for auctions, and I have I'm sponsoring the live music for Rad Camp, which is coming up, and everyone should figure out what Rad. I think it's radcamp.org. Sorry, am I allowed to do a plug? Sorry.
Yeah. No.
I have nothing to do with the organization other than they reached out to me. They told me what it was. It's a camp. It's a week-long camp for adults and children with special needs, physical, mental, and emotional special needs. And this is in many cases the only week out of the year where their caretakers or their parents or their family members will get time off to not have to not necessarily have to care for them. Sometimes they do accompany them if there are specific special needs, but it's a really, really cool organization that has blossomed in, and they're actually based in Orange County, like Irvine area, I think. So I'm sponsoring their band this year with no expectations. Like, I figured out what they were. I learned about the organization and who they help. I've got, through marriage, a family member with special needs who's been basically bedridden his whole life. And I said, how can I help? I'm involved. I'll do it. I'll fly in if I have to. So I'm helping them. And then, I donate to like school auctions, in Manhattan Beach where we were living. I donate a band every year for their live auction. And it's it's like whatever you get for it, you guys keep the money. I'll provide the band and the production because I believe in education. So I never really work for free because the other thing is like, I get joy out of it and I get exposure out of it, but those are two that I do. But I would say, and maybe I'm a jerk for saying this, but I would say if you're going to donate to charity, like limit your donations, like make sure you're not going broke over it or killing yourself emotionally. Like it's gotta be something that makes sense financially. Number one, you better be able to bear it. And number two, like find something that you're really passionate and you support. If you don't support it, it's okay to say no to people. And it's a really simple answer. Someone calls or emails and says, hey, I've got this organization. We're really looking for this, or would you be interested? All you need to say is, thank you so much for reaching out. I'm so glad you did, and I'm honored. However, this year doesn't work for me. Would you do me a favor? Will you keep me in mind for next year? Or will you do me a favor? Will you think of other ways that we can be involved? Sometimes it's like as easy as they just need someone to send an email to somebody else for a referral,
That's crazy.
So,
Yeah, people
and it's hard
forget.
to do. It's hard. Yeah.
That's crazy. That's actually perfect. People forget that when you donate your services, just like charity, it's something, donating something is always something that's extra. Like you have an excess of it. That's why you donate shoes, you donate, clothes. So whenever you donate to charities, your time, make sure it's extra time. Make sure you have enough money to cover for that event. No, don't just, blindly go into it.
And ask for the assets, like ask for program placement, ask for your brand to be on the LED screen, ask for a shout out and recognition at the event, ask for the photos, ask for the videos. You have to ask for these things. People can't read your mind. I'll tell you what, man, there are times, like there are events where I'd rather have the video than the band get paid, because we're in like we did something at the Honda Center for the LA Kiss, the indoor like arena football league. Having those photos in that videos, or that having those photos in that video was almost better than actually getting paid, because it's like, look, here's a band playing in an arena. Like, dude, you can't buy that. You can't rent that space out and do that. So, do we have time for one more thing?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to talk about the follow up with other vendors getting photos and videos after a wedding or an event from photographers and videographers. Can we talk about that?
Sure. Yeah. Go for it.
Okay. I'm gonna flip it, because this is your interview, right? All right. You're interviewing me, but I'm gonna interview. I'm gonna interview you. And just disclaimer to everybody, we brought this up before we got on the podcast, because I actually brought up the question, and I was curious, and I wanted to hear from a super busy working professional on how they handle this. So I've talked with photographers before about how they prefer to set up galleries of photos from an event or a wedding for vendors. Like, look, man, bands love photo and video. I love to be able to get that stuff. Can you talk about your process? What are your thoughts on that, and how do you handle that when everybody's asking you for that stuff?
So the thing is, we usually have the bulk of our work is the post processing, right? So on the day itself, we start shooting, but it takes us 1 to 3 months to shoot out these videos. And if we're lucky enough, we have 10 videos in a month that we need to edit out. So
oh my God, that's a lot of work, man.
Yeah. So I feel like the easiest way, at least for us, for my company, the easiest way for me to give the footage, because I would love to give the footage, but my main concern is I can't just give them raw video and then they're gonna edit it and then the quality's not gonna be good. So it takes us a longer time to get back to them because we still need to edit it, but we have a long queue. So I feel like the best way for people to get their video that they want is for us to just give it to them. But our main concern is it's not going to look good unless we edit it. So that's a main concern.
Yeah.
Did that answer your question? How the process is?
So yes, and this is my thought on photo and video. I love the photographers that set up a gallery, and obviously, look, you're being paid by the client. Get the client what they need first and foremost, and then when all's said and done, you have your favorites. I love when they set up a gallery, and I know it takes time, but it is so appreciated. And then on the video side, I love when we get like a video link of a completed. I prefer the completed package, edited, ready to go, of the experience, because for me, what I'm selling is an experience. It's not, hey, look at the band, watch the band. It's look at what the band is part of. So to me, I would rather post start to finish, Rolls Royce arriving ceremony, and then sparkler exit, or they sail off on a boat. Soup to nuts. So I love getting that link. Are you sharing that link? You guys are sharing those links with everybody when they're done, right? Yeah. So I love that. Yeah.
I would rather, actually, I filmed your band. I forgot. See, this is terrible.
It was in February. Come on, TikTok, Paul.
No, but that's the thing.
No, I'm kidding.
So much stuff. But so I feel like the easiest way is two things. The easiest way is for you to email the photographer or the videographer beforehand, like pregame, to tell them that, hey, is there a way I could get the photos afterwards, just so you could get like a feel of how they are, because there are some photographers and videographers that are like iffy giving footage, but so emailing, right? And then I feel like for me, if the vendor, like the DJ, he wants footage of him or the dance floor or doing the grand entrance, if he goes to the office and picks up the footage, I feel like that's going to be easier than us.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I'll email you the video of the band.
That's fine. How I would love it. I mean, that if I get to put you guys on on some of my sizzle stuff, I'll take it. That's the other thing is like, what other industry do you get like pro grade everything? And here it is, go market your business. I mean, it's amazing. So one thing we do, I don't do it all the time, but a lot of the time, if a planner sends out like an introductory email to the entire event team, if we get that email, which a lot of sometimes we don't, sometimes we just get an email to the entertainment company. But if I get an email where it's like the whole team, like flowers, everybody, day of, day before, blah, 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 we'll put on there, I'll hit reply all, and I'll say, hey, if you haven't worked with VIP's Entertainment, couple things. If you need power, go to our technicians. If you need sound plugs, go to our guys or girls. They'll take care of you. And then the other big thing to really sort of create that collaborative experience and community is we put a disclaimer in there in the email for everyone that's like, yo, just remember, the stage is as much yours, photo and video, as it is ours. We want you up there. We want you shooting. Get your shot. Florists, if you have a design aspect that involves the stage, we will work around you. We are not just going to come in and set up things and move things. Like, it really is, to me, it's like a vision and a design first. And we're capturing that, and the band is just like salt and pepper on top of that food. So a lot of times we're moving speakers, we're moving mic stands, and we're just working around like flower boxes or trellises or things like that. And so we put that in an email to the team, like, hey, we're excited to work with everyone. If you need a hand with a ladder, if you feel unsafe about a light, if there's something you don't know, if you see a piece of tape that's out of place, whatever it might be, just ask our team and we're there to help. And a lot of vendors don't do that. And I don't understand why, because right away, you're setting everybody up for success by saying, yo, talk to us. We're here to help. You just inherited an 8-person band who's going to help you move stuff. Like, so, but like, especially for photo video, a lot of times people are like, do you mind? I'm sorry. Can we get up on stage? And I'm like, why are you apologizing? Like, get up here. Like, the most important thing is that you get those shots, right?
Yeah. And
so
okay,
yeah.
so this is why you're one of the best. Not only do you have not only do you have a golden voice, but you also have a heart of gold. Aww. And I really appreciate that, because you know, seeing people in your level being really genuine and really helpful is amazing. It's just so inspirational, and that's what we aspire to. And I thank you for that.
Thank you. Well, my mom would be so happy.
But she still wouldn't believe that you're the kid that sang, huh?
I mean, I mean, it was inevitable. I mean, the catering jobs and the fashion shows that my mom used to put on in our backyard, this was all bound to happen. We're so lucky, man. I mean, I know how hard you guys work, and I know you spend a lot of time in offices editing. People think it's just like shoot and then get your stuff. I'm so lucky. I mean, there are days, man, when I look at my wife and I'm like, why am I doing this? Or, you know, man, this, you know, the people problems that I have with people sometimes can just be so challenging and honestly to the point of like emotionally really hard. But I got to tell you, man, yeah, like getting out there and I still love to sing and perform, and getting out there and being able to do that is so fun. But getting able to hear about it from my other bands and getting emails from people that say like, Alistair, Jenny Kidd and her team nailed it, you know, and we couldn't have asked for a better experience. I mean, to me, like, I'm so lucky that I'm like this entertainment guy now. And I don't know how it happened, Paul, because if you'd met me in college, you'd have been like, that guy's going to be dead in 5 years. So,
then we probably went to the same school, because if you met me in college, I'd be the same.
I feel like we were probably friends in another life. I don't know. But no, honestly, like I never would have thought I'd be doing this like in high school or college, or I'm really happy and I'm really lucky that every day is a challenge. Like every day is a challenge, whether it's winning business or it's coming up with solutions to people's problems. But you know, I mean, that's kind of why we do this, right? Is like somewhere inside of us, this is part of our DNA, is like fixing things and helping people and being those, what'd you say, OB1s.
Yeah, that's
So
exactly what because I was telling like I was talking to people in Tuesdays Together yesterday, and I was telling them our goal is to solve a problem. We're not here to
yeah,
become superstars. We're supposed to solve a problem that the couples have, and that's what your trade is. And you know, I really appreciate that you're like this because it really helps us out. And
thank,
thank you so much
can
for
we,
so
thank you. Can we end on a positive, like a
yeah,
real
let's do it.
fun positive? Okay. So tell me the most, and you don't have to go into specifics of client names or maybe locations, whatever, however you want to pitch it up, and I'll do the same. Tell me the most, like the best event or the most fun event you've ever done.
Oh man. M- Fortunately for us, I'm not even like joking, but fortunately for us, uh, most of our weddings are just always fun. The most
Yeah.
memorable ones that I love are when we start crying during the vows or a father-daughter speech. That's the most memorable. Like when we go home, I'm like sobbing and just trying to, clear the tears from my eyes. It's always going to be a memorable one.
So I'm going to tell, of course, I mean, dude, I get it. I get it. So I'm going to tell you two stories.
Yeah.
The first is I want to do the father daughter kind of emotional thing. So, I was doing a wedding in Tustin, California with like a 7-piece band at like a private estate. Um, and I'm not going to say the planner because I don't want to do that because it's a funny story. But the client sent over their song request, and I was actually singing on this wedding. This was like a couple years back, and their father-daughter song was a song called Cinderella, which is a Stephen Curtis Chapman song that he wrote after, and I don't know if you know the story, but he lost his daughter like at a very young age in a very tragic accident. And so I did some research on the song, figured out what it was about. At the time, my wife was pregnant with our second child, which is we knew was a daughter.
Oh
And I
my
literally
gosh.
called the planner. I called the planner and I was like, I love this song, but I don't think I'm going to be able to get through it. And she said, man up, and hung up the phone on me. I mean, in a very funny way. Now she's got kids, so I'll bring the story up to her and ask her if she remembers, because I'm sure she does, and see if she remembers that. And I'll go, now you're thinking differently about that now that you've got kids, right? So but like that was a really 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 special moment. That was probably the most terrifying and because it's like I got to hold this together for this song. So that was like a really really special moment with singing that song for that father daughter. And then honestly, I'd say I just want to share the experience of probably the best gig I've ever had was at a place in Belly Up. It's called the Belly Up. It's in Solana Beach, which is down in like mid San Diego. And it was with the Young Guns, and it was like 2011, and we did this holiday party for a surf company down there, and we had no idea what we were going into. It ended up being like a sold out packed house 80s party with like people crowd surfing, and it was people like my age and younger. And I looked around, and at one point during the night, I just closed my eyes and I just said thank you to God. And I just remember opening my eyes and knowing this is good. I've got a business, like this is going to work. And I had fun and done other parties, but to be in a professional environment that lost its mind in such a controlled, chaotic way, with that band, which I was really like, I'd worked so hard to get to that place. I knew I'm like, this is
It's gonna
the
work.
thing. I can do this. I can do this now. Yeah, I can do this. Like, here we go. And then, I like, yeah. And from there, so those are two moments that I remember. And I would just say to every listener out there, like, just recognize those, take a moment when you're at events and recognize those moments, whether you're sitting in an editing bay or I don't know, whether you're like on a plane to go fly and shoot someone's wedding somewhere super crazy and weird. Just recognize those moments and turn around and go, there are people back there where I just came from that aren't doing that. So there you go.
Oh my gosh, that's such a perfect way to end this. That's awesome.
Yeah, man.
Never
I
forget.
love life. I
Oh
love
yeah,
people.
yeah, and yeah, just always consciously remind yourself of why you're doing this, and usually it helps.
Yeah, man. This was so
So,
fun. Thank you.
thank you. I will. I really appreciate the whole interview. I learned so much, as you can see with my notes. And now you're going to show me the Batman building.
Can you see
Look,
it? Like, right? Is it
right there.
there?
Really?
See it?
Yeah, yep, there
Yeah,
you go. I got a
you got
Batman
Batman.
too. This is such a
That actually is
put
now.
put your face in there so that I can screen capture this because this is amazing. And then point at the building.
Am I? Yeah, right there. Yeah.
Perfect. That's amazing. Thank you
Boom.
so much,
So
Alistair.
fun. Thank you, man. I'm so excited to see you guys. I'll see you. I don't know. I don't know. I'm sure I'll see you soon at something. So,
Okay. Thank you. I'll see you
all
and
right.
I'll keep you posted.
All right. All
All
my
the
best
best.
to you and Stella. Take care, bud.
All right. I'll see you.